Hello and welcome to Piwik PRO YouTube video series. Topic of the video: sending CDP audience to customer list in Google Ads. So what we're gonna learn, we'll explain what is a customer list and what it is used for. We'll explain benefits of using customer list in the context of Piwik PRO CDP, and then we're gonna explain how to automate the process of sending your audiences to customer list in Google Ads. Okay, let's dive in. So what is a customer list? What is a customer match and how it works? Customer list is an actual data that you send to Google Ads. You do that by creating an audience of users in Piwik PRO CDP based on recent behavior like level of interest in your new products or perhaps trial customers that you would like to reach out to ensure that they become clients of yours. You describe such audience using powerful CDP audience conditions. Customer data may include email, phone number, and postal address. And to keep your data secure, we are sending your customer data hashed, which means that Google will be able to use it only if it's matched on their end. In fact, Google Ads has a feature, a mechanism called customer match that is used to do this. I'll drop some links to Google articles that explain all that in more details. Moreover, our CDP will send the consent signals to comply with the consent mode version 2. This might be worthwhile knowing if you want to comply with the GDPR regulations. Such lists, once uploaded to Google Ads, can be used across your ads when the user uses Search Network, YouTube or Gmail, or when they browse Google Display Network for retargeting. It can also use that information to create similar audiences based on the behavior of your customer list users across all different Google platforms. But you can always opt out of use of such a similar audiences. So let's picture some examples. One could be when we want to do the retargeting of your trial customers and nudge them to become active customers. Another could be your paying customers, where you want to target them with a new product or give them an early access to a new product. Or this could be those of your customers who have started the buying process but got interrupted. They abandoned the cart and you want them to get back on the shopping track. Finally, what we are also able to do is to remove the users from customer list in Google Ads who met the goal of the retargeting campaign, such as those who bought the product that they trialed, or those who bought the new version of the product, or those who completed the abandoned cart thanks to our retargeting campaigns. This is to ensure that you are not wasting money on targeting people who are already became your customers. Finally, the benefit of using CDP is that the process of adding and removing users from customer list can be automated. So you don't have to import or upload the data to Google Ads manually. And most importantly, based on your first-party CDP attributes and behavioral data, i.e. your audiences that you've created once, you can define them once and then automate that process for the future. Okay, let's move on now to the step-by-step process of adding users to the customer list and removing users from a customer list. The first audience would be for adding users to the customer list. So let's click on Add an Audience, create a custom audience. Let's give it a name. Google Ads Customer List, adding users. The very first condition would be user ID. And let's say last user ID is not empty. Why do we need to use that? Because when we're sending an audience to Google Ads, we need to sort of send the information about that user to Google Ads, and that will be an email, presuming that we collect user email using the attribute user ID. So if that attribute is not empty, it means we do have an email for that very user and there's something to send. Otherwise, if we send something that is not an email or we don't have an email, we won't be able to sort of match that data on the Google Ads end. So that's a necessary step. Then we have perform the event, and in our case that will be conversion, and the conversion is called trial account created. Now, in my case, that's trial account created, and that's the goal that we used because it was set up in the analytics, and our CDP is, the advantage of our CDP is that it is synced with our analytics. So any goal, any sort of custom data that we create in the analytics becomes out of the box, ready to be used in the CDP. So I'm using the goal name that was created via analytics, and that goal name is trial account created. But instead of that, so we can think about some other use cases. Now using, for example, page view event, where a visitor visited a particular page URL or page type, for example, block category type, more than 3 times in the last, say, in the last say 5 days, right? So that would be the level of interest and the recency of that very interest. And that way we would send that very user to our customer list because they may want to say buy another services of ours or a new product that we offer on top of whatever they already have with us, right? So that's just the example, but let's remove that and just keep things simple. So let's say we want to have users who converted a goal in the last 5 days, but that's not necessary because the moment we hit save, only from then onwards, we're going to be adding users to the audience. Okay, so that's the second condition. And then another one is goal name did not perform the event. Again, we're going to be using conversion, paid account created. So they became a trial client, but they haven't become a paid client. So this might be also a conversion on our website, but this may as well be something that we sync between different platforms. So we could be changing the sort of status of a trial client in our CRM, and that data would be synced with our CDP. I'm going to create another video where I show you the example of syncing data with CRM. So stay tuned. But in here, we could have synced data between CRM and CDP. So that does not have to be something that happens on a website. Just want to make that clear. So did not perform the event. Goal name is paid account created. I'm going to save it. And now we're going to have to create another audience. This audience that we've just created is the audience by which we're going to be adding users to the customer list. Now we're going to create in a fairly simple way, removing users from customer list. So I'm not going to change everything here. Perhaps I'm going to remove that. And in here, I'm going to perform the event. Goal name is paid account created. So once the user become a trial client and then they convert that goal, they will, first of all, no longer going to be the part of the audience, the very first audience. And as a result, they become the part of this very audience of users we're going to be removing from a Google Ads customer list. So let's save that. And that's our very first step. Next step is creating customer list in Google Ads. But before I'm going to move on to Google Ads, just want to say that we're going to presume here that you already made the integration with Google Ads. What do I mean by that? It means that once we move on to activation, you have this green sort of message connected, right? That means you integrated Google Ads with Piwik PRO. If you haven't done that or you don't know how to do it, I'm going to link in the description a video where I've covered that while covering some other topics. So please check it out. Let's move on to Google Ads. I'm going to go back to audiences and now let's move on to Google Ads. In Google Ads, this is just a fake account, so you can ignore any sort of information here. I don't use this account for any other purposes than demos such as this one. In Google Ads, you need to go to Tools and then Audience Manager. And in here, we need to add a new list. I have some lists here. There's all different types of audiences that you can create in Google Ads. But in our case, we need to click on plus button and we need to select customer list, right? In here, because we already have the connection between Piwik PRO and Google Ads, we're gonna have to click on skip this step and set up the data source later. In here, let's provide the name. So just a generic name, CDP audience customer list. In here, you can select the customer type. So all customers, purchasers, high value customers. Now this list is optional. As far as I'm concerned, according to the documentation of Google Ads, this may help Google Ads identifying users that are similar to some of your customers and help in campaigns such as Performance Max in learning about other sort of users that are similar to the users to your customers, basically. I'm going to leave it blank. And here we have a membership duration. So in CDP, I have here, I could perform the event in the last 5 days to provide the recency of our audience, right? So that's one way of adding the recency. But in here, we can decide for how long, once we add the user to the list, and before we remove it, and that might take some time. So user might not become a paying customer in our case for, I don't know, 300 days. If that doesn't happen, do you still want to keep that user in your list? If that's the case, then you may want to leave it to 540 days. But if you feel like it's irrelevant after, let's say, 60 days, that user is no longer relevant, because whatever offer that you have for them via retargeting is no longer applicable to them. Then you may sort of shorten that number of days. So let's stick to 60 days, right? But bear in mind, there's a certain threshold that you need to meet for the number of customers in your list for that list to be used for retargeting. You can find more information in the Google Ads documentation. And finally, you can add the description, but I'm going to leave it blank. Anyway, I'm going to click on Save and Continue. And here I'm going to click Done. So I have CDP audience customer list, right? It's open. It says too small to serve because it's under 100. So at the moment, while we're recording this video, the threshold is 100. And now that's it. Now we need to move on back to CDP. The very last step is to create activation. So let's click on Add an activation. I'm going to click on Google Ads, but bear in mind it says here connected, so I can do that. If you don't have this message connected, you might not be able to do that. So you need to integrate Google Ads with Piwik PRO. So let's click on that. Let's give it a name. We have sending users to Google Ads customer list. And now we need to select the audience. So Google Ads customer list, adding users. So that's the very first audience. And we're going to hit here, add a contact to customer list. So we choose the account. You may connect multiple accounts to Piwik PRO. So you need to select the appropriate one. In my case, that's this one. Choose a list. And in my case, that's a CDP audience customer list. And then here we need to choose the data. Now, in our case, we used user ID and we collect email addresses, but instead you could use phone number, mailing address, or all of them if you like. In our case, I'm just going to be using email address, and email address is going to be user ID as we selected in our audience while we were creating the audience. And that's pretty much it. All I need to do is just to save. And now this activation is active. After a while, we're going to be sending some users to Google Ads, and we're going to be able to see the numbers in this customer audience. But that's not everything. We need to create another activation by which we're going to be removing users from Google Ads. And now we need to select the appropriate audience. So Google Ads customer list, removing users. And this time we need to click on remove a contact from your customer list. Again, the steps are similar. We need to choose the appropriate Google account, and then the audience. That's going to be the very same audience that we've just linked with the very first audience. But this time with this activation, we're going to be removing those users. So let's hit on that. And now hit on the email and hit apply, and then user ID, save. So now we have two activations that are one that sends users to Google Ads customer list and one that is removing users from Google Ads customer list. And this is it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to our channel. Check the description below to find some useful links like free Piwik PRO sign up page, community forum page, and links to related videos. Until next time.